soul, leading me to that bright, beautiful goal, cheering me when I'm sad, keeping me free and glad. Jesus is keeping watch over my soul,
Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk to ex-listeners, to friends, sponsors, and even to the owner of Amazing Grace Christian Radio. But also I would like to greet the Christians of Cornerstone Baptist Church in Kigali and all Fundamental Baptist Church Christians wherever we are around the world. The Bible says in John chapter 8 verse 32, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." My name is Kasina Muhanga. I was the manager of Amazing Grace Christian Radio until April 7, 2014, the day I was kidnapped by the Rwandan Secret Service and held me in an unknown safe house, torturing me and doing all bad things I can't hear explain. Amazing Grace Christian Radio started broadcasting officially on March 15, 2009 and was closed on April 24, 2018 by the Rwandan government through RURA, which is a Rwanda Utilities Regulations. According to RURA, the revocation failed by Amazing Grace Christian Radio to comply with RURA's instruction given after a sermon was aired by the radio on 29 of January 2018, in which a local pastor, Nicholas Nibikora, repeatedly insulted women, referring them as evil. Today I want to show you how all those were a pretext. Before I worked with Amazing Grace Christian Radio as a journalist, I worked with missionary Greg Brian Schultz as one of his interpreters, and we used to go around the country preaching the good news of free salvation by grace through Jesus Christ, house to house, in marketplaces, in the ways, centers, in a knock-knock or soul winning program since 2005. In the beginning, it was not easy because people were familiar with preaching of going to heaven and get salvation by their own works, by their own efforts. So hearing salvation is a free gift was something new in the ears of many people. And I remember most of the time after preaching and praying for people for receiving salvation, Pastor Greg Schultz used to ask those people this kind of a question. If tomorrow, or after tomorrow, or maybe after 1 week or 2 weeks, you die, where will you go? And most of the people used to immediately answer without even thinking, I will go to hell. Other very few, like 10%, used to say, I will try my best and not make sin. Very few people used to say, I will go to heaven. So with those people, Pastor Schultz used to insist and had to go back again and start preaching fresh, because the people, even though prayed for salvation and convinced by the Bible, were not sure about where they can go when they die. So he used to preach over and over and over. Pastor Schultz saw the way people were so confused about the gospel, even though the country was filled with Christian churches. That's why he started to think how he can start a radio, a Christian radio, to preach many people in one time. After sometimes he told us that God has answered his prayers. And he said the radio is no longer a dream. Soon we started preparation of the radio. The radio with a great blessing because they started using its own tower with powerful equipment, especially the transmitter set on top of the giant mountain, which helped to cover the entire region with clear and clean waves. What was amazing, the radio was able to cover even the part of Rwanda, Tanzania, Burundi, and Uganda, and in those neighboring countries where the radio reaches, the people listen Kinyarwanda easily. Amazing Grace Radio did extraordinary job. I'm here to testify it. With its strong and wide editorial line, which was preaching the good news from the Holy Bible, and the capacity reading in different domains like social, health, justice, democracy, environment, culture, sports, and behavior change, we have been able to change and awaken many people both spiritually and socially. Amazing Grace Radio was reputed to be the most conservative radio according to its sound doctrines, preachers, and music, and it also was reputed to be the very democratic radio according to the debates used to take place on it. There was every last Saturday of each month the program called the Sobanukirwa, Get Understanding, which used to bring together different pastors to discuss hard topics of the Bible and Christianity with only one reference, the Bible. Even though many people fear to debate on the Word of God, for us, we used to do it basing on the Bible. Does the Bible allow debate? Well, the answer is yes. Because the Bible shows clearly Jesus and the lawyer debate the commandments, which is the greater in the commandments. You can find that in Matthew chapter 22, verse 35 to 40. Another famous debate you can find in the Bible was the exchange with Nicodemus, found in John 3, verse 1 to 13. Having thus acknowledged the immediate foregoing controlled religious debating or disputing for the purpose of testing preachings and arriving at the truth as it is often observed in the New Testament and is a trait of spirit prompt to the preachers, as you can find in Acts chapter 15 verse 1 to Acts chapter 17 verse 2, where Apollos is seen as a powerful debater in the earlier church, like you can read that in Acts chapter 18 verse 24 to 28. Many do not care for debating today because they don't care for the truth and the necessity of establishing truth relative to the Bible subjects. So for Amazing Grace, that was the goal, to read the truth called out and the truth to make or set people free. We had also a special program every Sunday morning called Bible and the Quran, the book of Muslims, in which we used to invite people believers to have a good knowledge in each of those books so that the people can discuss the content of those books and then the truth be said and the people get right. It was not only religious programs, we had debates only, but we had also a great program with colorful presenters called Morning Show Ityazo. or sharpener, or making somebody much smarter, in which we used to talk and discuss about the life of the country in all its corners according to editorial line. Bad preachers, false prophets, and bad political leaders, and especially in dictatorship, as anyone, they never wish to rule over smart people. They always want people who are like sheep to read them however and wherever they want. So Amazing Grace Christian Radio was enemy of both false prophets and bad political leaders. Christian Radio was enemy of both false prophets and false preachers on one side, and to the other side, enemy of bad political leaders. All obviously joined the hands to destroy and fight Amazing Grace Christian Radio. They started on its staff, then to the church of Cornerstone of the Church of Pastor Missionary Revocation, and finally to the radio itself. And they did under clear charges, as they did for me, who was the journalist and the manager of the radio, by accusing me conspiracy against the established government for only my work of journalist, pointing out the needs of population and the reconciliation among Rwandans, which were contrary to the rise preached by the government of Rwanda. How Amazing Grace became a threat to the government of Rwanda? Because of its conservative approach on the Bible and its seriousness in selecting preachers and music to air, the radio quickly conquered the hearts of many people, and within a short period of time, it had already a big audience, but also it had many enemies, as I said here above. In 2011, we offered a free weekly hour to Transparency International Rwanda, but it used to pay when they wish extra time. In that show, we helped Transparency International Rwanda to sensitize and carry out its policy of contributing to the fight against corruption and promote good governance through enhancing integrity in the Rwandan society. In 2012 and 2013, we successfully won the bid of airing a show called Ubutabera Iwacu, literally mean justice at home, from the Ministry of Justice. We used also to invite various officials to talk about the different matters touching the lives of the people. Among those, I can say ombudsman, ministers, and many others. Because the people were feeling so free with Amazing Grace Christian Radio, soon people from remote area started bringing their problems to Amazing Grace Studio, so that we help them submitting those problems to the officials in charge to help them finding a solution according to the programs we used to listen to the radio. I remember we used to delegate some journalists to accompany those people from remote area to the Office of Transparency International, to the Office of Ombudsman, to the Ministry of Justice, because you had no idea of locations of the office or headquarters of those institutions. I remember even Amazing Grace Christian Radio staffs used to shelter even some people who came from very far and without enough money to eat and for lodging in the hotels. those people dropped to Amazing Grace Christian Radio many problems, especially relating to injustice, corruption, persecution, harassment, and many other human rights abuses by some officials and local leaders. As the owner and the director was an American citizen, and most of time present and meet in person with some of those people, crying for him and for the radio to advocate. The government, through its secret service, started to see Amazing Grace Christian Radio as a threat, and doubting to Pastor missionary Greg Shuf used to say that he might be rather inspired than a missionary. I can't finish without showing you how the revocation of Amazing Grace Christian Radio's license was a political decision. Pastor Nicholas' summary was only the pretext. Here are 3 things to know well in order to understand what happened. Point 1. As a Christian radio, on Amazing Grace Christian Radio, we had 2 important groups of staff: journalists and pastors. The journalists were governed by the media law and other press media, and had press cards issued by the Rwandan Media Commission, while pastors were governed by their contract between them and Amazing Grace Radio. Those pastors had no press card, which means they were not journalists. In their contract was a clear mention that pastor will be responsible for whatever he can say on the radio that is against the law of Rwanda. There were other many things prohibited according to the radio policy and editorial line. So without any decision, without any court case, without even giving chance to the radio management, RURA and the RMC, Rwanda Media Commission, imposed sanctions and condemned the radio without looking at the status of the person who aired the program. Then they quickly went against the radio, which that shows that there was something behind. Point 2. In its letter, RURA explained like this: the conduct of Amazing Grace Radio violates Article 21, number 004/R/MCA/RURA/2012 of 30 June 2017, governing the services in Rwanda in regards to upholding public morality and Rwandan culture and values in general. Accusing Amazing Grace Radio to not upholding the Rwandan culture is totally amazing and completely ridiculous. Let me say 3 things to show you how Amazing Grace Radio is a different radio. Amazing Grace Radio is the only radio and the only institution in Rwanda that publicly condemned the non-action of government of Rwanda overthrowing Mashirika Performing Arts and Media Company in 2012, Rwanda the Telecom Company, and later Rwandan Inspiration Backup, to violate the Rwandan culture in exposing the nakedness of young Rwandan women in choosing the most beautiful and skilled girl in what they call Miss Rwanda event. I remember in 2012, we invited Mr. Boniface Ruchang, who was chairman of Itorero, which is a National Itorero Commission whose the most important commission is to Rwandans to make them understand their shared values and taboos in the coexistence, be patriotic, and contribute to national development. He wasn't being able to answer and to give satisfactory answers to the questions journalists were asking him, and people questioning him from audience calling in time. We printed the shameful photos and we sent them to the office of the First Lady Janet Kagame in Imbuto Foundation. She used to act as she is doing something good for the women in Rwanda. So accusing Amazing Grace Radio of violating the Rwandan culture and its virtues is totally a lie. It's not to know its standard. It only shows me, and I guess should show even everyone, that was something behind. Another thing I can say, Amazing Grace Radio was the only radio that publicly denounced the use of rebellious music on radio and on TV. It was the only radio in Rwanda that used to select the music to put on air and to teach the impact of bad music on youth particularly and to the world population in general. And it was highly respected for that. So accusing Amazing Grace Radio not to uphold the Rwandan culture and its virtues, it is honestly not to know it. It simply shows me, and I guess should shows even somebody else, that there was something behind. Another point I can say here, in Rwanda, according to its culture, it is strictly forbidden and prohibited to talk about sexuality publicly. However, there are some radios that air the show in which they teach about sex and even go further and teach how to make sex. They pretend to intervene in the sexual education and saying the program is set and is squared to the late hours like 10 or 11 p.m. Oh, but that is a lie, because the children and teenagers in some families are awake. So in Rwanda now there are a big problem of pregnancy in the teenagers, and nobody accused those radios to violate Rwandan culture. But Amazing Grace Radio, because of a pastor preached the prophetic message with a woman as a typical illustration of his sermon, that's become a big problem. So not saying a word to those radios, and then accusing Amazing Grace Radio not to uphold the Rwandan culture, it is, as I say, ridiculous, and it only shows that something was behind. Let me go to point 3 of the point I've been saying. Point 3. Pastor Nicholas is a pastor and was preaching. In introducing his sermon, as many of you who can listen in Kinyarwanda can find on YouTube and listen yourself, he clearly states that the church means a woman. If woman has bad behavior and have a different man, she's called prostitute. Beside that, he titled his sermon Secret Behind Religion, and was in the series of prophetic programs. He mentioned many times, wherever you listen the word woman, understand the church. He picked in the Bible different verses where women behaved very badly and used them as a picture or illustration of wrongdoings of some churches nowadays. But nobody took attention to analyze the message, because they were looking only for a pretext. They rushed to the radio and shut it down. And remember, the Bible says in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2 to 3, preach the word, be ready in season and out of season, convince, rebuke, exhort with long suffering and teaching. For the time will come where they will not endure sound doctrines, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. According to the Bible, Pastor Nicholas had the authority to read the truth out. So he had to rebuke, exhort, in season and out of season. When I think on of this situation, I also recall of what is written in the Bible, in the book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 27 to 29. And the Bible says, and when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, did not we straightly command you that you should not teach in this name? And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us. Then Peter and other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. Do you think Pastor Nicholas, Pastor Gregory Schulf of Amazing Grace Christian Radio, could have disqualified the Word of God and His work in obeying men? Or them also ought to obey God rather than men? For those who have the ears, I think you have understood the truth behind the revocation of Amazing Grace Christian Radio's broadcasting license by the government of Rwanda. The same government shut down thousands and thousands of churches in the country and persecuted Christians and pastors. In 2014, the government of Rwanda threw me in prison under created charges, as I said. In 2015, they sentenced me to 25 years in prison. In October 2016, they kidnapped my three young brothers. Innocent, just because they were my young brothers, my family whom we lived together. Brother Gawanziza Fikiri Jimmy, brother Gawanziza Moses, and brother Ntimana Joel. All until now, nobody knows their whereabouts. Nobody knows how and what happened to them. But in 2017, God showed me His great power and mercy. I managed to get out of that prison, and by now I praise Him. Until God is ready, nothing will be ready. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Jesus is keeping watch over my soul, leading me to that bright, beautiful goal, cheering me when I'm sad, keeping me free and glad. Jesus is keeping watch over my soul,